September 2011, I'd been podcasting for maybe 6 months or so. One of the highlights of podcasting is when you get to speak to people who are actually in movies. It's pretty awesome. You can be a bag of nerves as well because you think, well, I hope I come off as sounding like I know what I'm talking about. But to be fair, that is something I always worry about with podcasting anyway, regardless whether I'm talking to film stars or not. Now, one of the first, but not the first, one of the first film stars, screen icons, actresses, producers, writers, etc. that I ever spoke to was the awesome Brooke Lewis. Now, I'd first heard of Brooke Lewis when she appeared on the All Horror podcast, which it's known as allhorror.net now. They're still producing episodes. They are back with a name change. And I'd also seen quite a few of Brooke's films, things like Eye Murders. Slime City Massacre was the first one I remember seeing. So I was given the chance to speak to Brooke Lewis. So we spent about an hour, Annette and I, who runs the From Pen to Page Twitter account now. Annette and I spent about an hour chatting with Brooke Lewis, learning all the films she'd been in and all the projects she'd been up to, Ms. Vampy, and the various bits and pieces that she was working on at that time. It is a while since I've listened to that interview, hence the pause. But we were given the chance to catch up with Brooke. So, the last time we actually spoke to her was September 2011, but we've kept in touch via email and Twitter and her official Brooke Lewis Facebook page on, funnily enough, Facebook. But it was really, really good to sort of sit down, and we managed to grab about 40 minutes having a catch up with Brooke Lewis, finding out what she's been up to within the past 2 years. Turns out she's been up to a hell of a lot in the past 2 years. And so what you're about to hear now is around 40 minutes or so of... Is it an interview? It's not really an interview. It's just a conversation between myself, Annette, and the awesome Brooke Lewis. So do check out Brooke's Twitter page at Brooke Lewis LA, and you'll find her on Facebook as well. Just do a search for Brooke Lewis. So thank you for listening, and thank you for coming back on the show, Brooke. And cue the theme music.
The From Page to Screen movie cast.
Hi. I want to say good morning, but I know it's not morning there.
No, well, you could. Well, good morning to you and good evening to us.
Yeah, and is Annette there too?
I am.
Hi, love. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
I feel like I haven't been in communication with you. Like, Stuart and I are always in communication on Twitter. I feel like I haven't been in communication with you in forever.
Oh, well, thank you very much for your photo. It was much appreciated. I've got it on my mantelpiece.
You're so welcome. The Ms. Vampy one. You still have it?
It's sitting on our fireplace, and the other one's in my wonderful, highly secure vault.
Well, hopefully one day I'll be fortunate enough to get my butt out there and come see it.
Vice versa, we may get out to sunny climates as well. So
thinking about taking a vacation to California?
We're always thinking about taking a vacation, including California.
Yeah, it's hard to do, right? Then life happens.
Exactly. Which, looking at all the things you've been up to, you've been a very busy woman. Do you realise it's been 2 years since we did the podcast?
Oh my gosh, you're right, because it was right after my Ms. Vampy show, the Tween Talk, right?
It was. I looked up the other day, I'm like, when was that episode? And it was September 2011.
Wow, that's crazy. And it's so funny because from the outside looking in, and I've been getting that a lot because, it's... Are you recording me right now?
Definitely. Oh. All part of the show, Brooke.
Oh no! You can't shock me like that.
You're a scream queen. Scream? What's a scream? A scream queen. You are incapable of being shocked.
This is just funny. As I said that, I heard myself. And forgive me, and please, the listeners, and forgive me for I wanted to give a disclaimer of my froggy voice. A, it is like massive allergy season here, and B, with the Santa Ana winds blowing like crazy, and it's, of course, where else in the world is it 95 degrees, close to November, and two, well, I'm sure there's plenty of places that are hotter, but anyway, and two, I have been on events every night for, horror month so far, and we had which we'll talk about, our Bowling for Boobies for Breast Cancer charity event on Sunday, so I was screaming my brains out, so I have lost my voice. So again, listeners, forgive me. But oh, Stuart, you know, it looks from the outside like there's a lot, and you know me, there's always a lot going on. But I'm one of those people, as you know, who functions better being busy. Like, I get very depressed and feel unproductive when I'm not, you know, but it also feels like, you know, since you mentioned the show 2 years ago when I did Ms. Vampy's Tween Talk, Teen Talk, and In Between Talk, so much has happened and changed between then and now. But I mean, a lot of it was, you know, as we spoke, I had just gone back to school in 2011 to become a board certified life coach at the Life Purpose Institute. So that was a big thing for me. I spent so much time in 2011, 2012, you know, finishing school, launching my life coaching business, Be You and Be Fearless Life Coach. So that's sort of become a big part of my existence now, not just acting and producing, but the coaching. And then because of being a certified coach, getting invited to, you know, become a writer for She Knows magazine and the Huffington Post. And then I launched my Ask the Drama Queen advice column, as you know. So it feels like, yes, the answer is yes. There's a ton going on, but also appearance and reality, which is funny because that's something I'm working on. You know how open and honest I am, and I'm working on that with my life coach today, is about, like, journaling out. And, you know, everybody can appreciate this in life and work, like appearance and reality, you know. And I laugh and I'm honest about this. Like, I get, you know, fan letters, you know that, like a couple hundred a week. And I get fans that write to me or email me and say from Montana or wherever. And they're like, oh, you know, Brooke, I love you, and my dream is to get to visit California, and when I do, all I want to do is come to your Hollywood Hills mansion and see you and see the mansion, and can I do that? And I, like, laugh to myself and, like, I'm in a very nice apartment, but an apartment in Hollywood. There's no mansion, and, you know, like everyone else, it's feast or famine, and I'm, you know, working it, hustling to always get the next acting job and clients and speaking engagements and appearances, and it's a constant, you know, it's a constant challenge.
Do you think people get the impression, or maybe some people think you live in like a big Addams Family type gothic-y sort of mansion thing?
Like, you mean, I think they think Ms. Vampy does. We all know she's in her fancy Hollywood Hills villa.
Maybe she's taken over the Osbournes' house.
Oh, I would love that.
So what we've done is we've gone over your IMDb page and a few websites and stuff, and because we're sort of semi-limited with time, that you're a busy woman, and we've put together a few things, and we're going to go over them because it's been 2 years since we spoke. So we're just going to fire these at you, and just feel free to talk about them or not. It's nothing too scary. First one, which you've already touched upon since the last time we spoke, the Huffington Post. Tell us a little bit about your involvement with the Huffington Post.
You know, I mean, it's funny, too, because a lot of people are now asking me about that, and I'm so grateful and blessed. Like, you know, growing up, I mean, you know, people, you think Huffington Post, wow, it's so prestigious, and it truly is. And they're pretty selective as to who they allow to be contributing writers, you know, on their site. And my publicist, Bridge and Tunnel, had been in contact with them. And it really, I do believe it was because of me becoming a certified life coach that I was able to sort of transfer that into having credibility as a coach and as a writer. And so it started initially, I was writing last year for their Gay Voices column, because I'm a big proponent of, you know, supporting the LGBT community and people who need a voice about being you, being fearless. And then I came up with an idea that I was pitching actually for I've been in the last year taking a lot of meetings with different internet networks and TV networks about having sort of a column or an advice column, because it's something that inspires me. We all know I like to talk. I hope I give good sound advice. I know I'm a big cheerleader for other people. I wish I was so for myself, but I got really inspired to do an Ask the Drama Queen column, sort of like I'm such a crazy fan, I'm sure Annette is too, of Sex and the City. growing up back east in big cities, and I'm such a fan of that. And also being a single, woman who inspires to be powerful and help others and help myself first, to just really be a stand for that. And so a lot of my clients are single creative women, and so I got really inspired to do an Ask the Drama Queen column, an advice column, and an advice show, because it's something that I love outside of acting, just giving advice, using the crazy train of a life that I've had, being a single woman in big cities like Philadelphia, New York, and now Los Angeles, and the experiences I've been through, from dating to online dating to, the struggles in the industry to body image issues. So it's so wonderful. So when we went back to Huffington Post and they pitched it and said, can we switch it up a little? And they took us on Healthy Living, which is one of the, most viewed columns on the Huffington Post. So I'm really lucky and fortunate, and I'm excited because it kind of goes with my whole brand, with the new Brooke Lewis brand, which is being the award-winning actress, writer, producer, Ms. Vampy, and we'll talk about that because I know you'll have questions about her, which I'll save. So it's kind of interesting how, and I always coach about this, speak about this, even as Ms. Vampy, how we all think God laughs when we're making plans, and we think we've got everything mapped out, and I'm such a control freak when it comes to my life and career, and it never works out. So A takes you to C, takes you to Z, and you're whoa, how did that happen?
So you were saying that sort of God laughs when we make plans. Obviously, it's in life, things get thrown at you that you don't plan on, and nature throws things your way and whatnot, which then brings us on to Bowling for Boobies. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, I saw the video clips and stuff a little while back when you were prepping the event.
Yes, that is, one thing I always, and even before having any kind of mini celebrity, whatever, in the horror sci-fi genres and whatever, I have always been very active in charity work, very active in belief in helping others, giving back. I think it's really a big part of humanity that a lot of people are now missing. And even in college, I was always feeding the homeless in Philadelphia. So I think it's really important. So I also think for any of the listeners, it's really important I think a lot of people with charities jump on the bandwagon of whatever's hot right now. And I think it's important to commit to a charity that inspires you, one or two. And so that's what I've done. I do, the breast cancer charities, and I do a lot of stuff for young people in the arts. And as far as Bowling for Boobies, I was one of the original team members that, it's Dread Central magazine. Sean Decker is our team captain. He came to me beginning of '08 and said I would love, and I was kind of exploding at that point as, an indie scream queen. And he said, we would love for you to join the team. And I did, and it's just been, we're going on 6 years, and it has just grown tremendously. And what inspires me so about this charity is the actual charity is the Busted Foundation. The event, which they do a couple times a year in different places, is Bowling for Boobies, and it benefits breast cancer. And what's beautiful is it benefits local women battling breast cancer. So I'm all for anybody who's, raising money for research. That's fantastic. Keep doing it. But for me, the beautiful thing is that I know that what the money we're raising and the awareness we're raising is going to local women here in California who are able to, as they battle this deadly disease, have their doctor bills paid through this, if they're a recipient. We've had people who were ready to be out on the streets, and they've had their rent paid, or they were able to feed their children while they were going through chemo and taking off work for months at a time. It's such a beautiful thing. And we just had the event on Sunday, and it was magical as always. And, you work so hard. Sean bust his butt, and we worked so hard, the girls, for 6 months straight, building this, creating this, doing awareness, doing publicity, taking photos, raising money, appearing places. It's kind of like a cheerleading squad. And the thing is, even Sunday, there's one woman who I love, Anne Marie, and she comes out every year, and she beat it. She beat breast cancer, and she gives us a big hug, and she's like, I couldn't have done this without you. And that's the most, I think, rewarding thing, is when you physically are in contact with a person and that something you did changed their life.
Wow. Yeah. So it's not easy to come up with a follow-up sort of remark or a question or something for that one, is it? But so Bowling for Boobies 6 years running.
Yep.
Wow.
Actually, I think it's been longer, but the horror stars came on 6 years ago. Started the inception of that. Mm-hmm.
That's really good. Also, you've been involved in quite a few movies lately, Brooke. You want to tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, Annette, I wish I was involved in quite a few more.
More than me.
I'm waiting for you guys to bring me out to the UK to become a UK star. It's funny, too, and that's why it makes me laugh, again, appearance and reality, and even just this week I've had appearances and events and opening horror parties and film festivals like every day and night, and everybody's like, oh my God, as always, you work more than anyone in Hollywood, and I laugh because it's so not true, but you go through these ebbs and flows, at least I do, and it's like feast or famine for me. I will have nothing and then 5 movies back to back in a row, which is crazy. So it was like, again, putting so much energy into my coaching business and stuff the last, end of 2011, beginning of 2012, and I hadn't done a film in like a year. And then, about a year. And then last fall, I guess I law of attraction it, or I got lucky, and I think there's a lot of luck it takes in this business. I really believe that. It's like preparation meets opportunity or whatever. And then I did like 5 films between last October and March. So it's funny because nothing's coming out right at this moment, but starting like end of November, like around Thanksgiving, I have my first sci-fi picture coming out. I mean, not the first one I've done, but the first one of the bunch. And then they'll start getting, continually released through the spring, which is great. So I'll be really excited to promote those, but we can shout out first and foremost, let me shout out to Neil Johnson. He's a British director. He's amazing. He's become such a dear friend of mine. He's so talented. He's a sci-fi guru, and he has just like nailed it on directing and producing low-budget sci-fi films. He did Humanity's End. He did Alien Armageddon. He's so wonderful. In fact, we need to bring him on the show. He's from the UK, and he used to direct a lot of famous UK rock stars' music videos. And then he became a sci-fi director. So I had a small role in his film Alien Dawn a couple years ago. And then it was funny, the way things happen. And so he came to me then last summer and said, I owe you, I'm going to make it up to you. He said, I'm writing a spaceship sequel. It's going to be part 1 and 2, possibly 3, Starship Rising, and then the sequel, Starship: The Coming Darkness. And he allowed me, he said, I want you to read the scripts, and you choose one of the 3 lead female roles. And I was so honored, and, it's not that often that an actress at, an indie level gets to have that opportunity. And I read them, and it was the 3rd lead female, so not even the lead. She, Staris, and she just spoke to me. She's this like sort of young-ish fighter pilot. She's badass. She has so many different emotional levels as a character, and for me as an actress, and it was really incredible. So I got to play Staris in Starship Rising, and then the sequel, Starship Coming Darkness. So Starship Rising should be released sometime end of November, December this year. So I'm really excited about that. It's a great role. It's a great film visually. I've seen some of the rough cut. It's amazing. So I'm excited. Then we've got Mark Klebanoff, who is a young, amazing director, USC grad. He directed me in several films so far, small roles. I opened Break with Michael Madsen and David Carradine with him, and I played a supporting role in Gerald, which is a family comedy that he directed with Mickey Rooney and Deb Faker and Louis Mandylor, and now The Morning, which is such a beautiful script. Like, sometimes you read scripts and you're like, okay, it is what it is. It's wonderful for horror, wonderful for sci-fi, wonderful for a mobster genre. But this is truly like one of those few scripts that you read that you're like, your heart melts and breaks, and you're like, this is like a Sundance piece. And so they sent me the script they had written. He and Michael Walton were writing a star vehicle for Michael to star in, and they had let me know about this way before, production, like a year before, and they said, we're writing you an awesome supporting role, and they really did. So it's called The Morning, and it is a absolute full-blown drama, but with a paranormal twist. So it's interesting. We'll see. They're getting a lot of interest from Lifetime and stuff like that because it's such a heartfelt, beautiful piece. So we went out to Michigan. They flew us out to Michigan all last October, and I was out there for a couple of weeks, and we shot, and it's incredible. Michael Walton stars, Louis Mandylor again, who's a genius, Larry Henkin from Home Alone, Dominique Swain is one of the stars from Lolita and Alpha Dog, Peter Dobson from Forrest Gump and Cover Me of the TV series. I can't even think. There's so. I guess that's like the main named actors. I'm just trying to think. So anyway, I'm really proud of this project. I can't wait for it to come out. I just think it's one of those exceptional, heartfelt dramas. And then horror-wise, we've got Thomas Churchill's Lazarus. I'm very excited about that, too. I had passed on a lot of horror scripts last year because I just think a lot of them are crappy. And I will say that, with honesty.
Is it like an instinct thing? Do you know very, very quickly when a script is not for you or crappy, whichever choice of phrase, but do you know very, very quickly when you think, no?
Yes. Stuart, yes. I know very, very quickly when a script's crappy, and I'll be willing to do that. And I also know very, very quickly when a script is not for me. There have been times where I've read some really, people have offered me scripts, they're like, we want you to read the lead, look at the lead. And I think it's a wonderful script. And more times than not, if I think it's a wonderful script, I will like the role as well. But there have been times where I've read it and it's a wonderful script, but the role is not for me. And I'm not one of those actresses. I'm very, I'm old enough and been around the block enough to know I can't do everything as an actress. I know a lot of actresses run around and they think, oh, I could do that, and that's great. I can't. I know what my strengths are as an actress. I know what my weaknesses are as an actress, and I'm very careful about that because I've made mistakes in the past making choices where I've misrepresented myself or I've gotten a lot of heat for doing a bad job. And that's one thing. I'm not a bad actress. And with the right material and the right direction, I'm actually a good actress. So I want to keep taking roles that are right for me to display that. I don't, because I think, you can be a wonderful actor, but you take a role that's not right for you. It's like all the singers on these shows I watch. I'm obsessed with them. So is Ms. Vampy with American Idol and The Voice and X Factor. And I watch these singers and I'm like, what a great singer, but what a bad, lousy song choice. Like Simon Cowell always say that, and I agree with him every time because you want to choose what's going to display your specific talents. So I'm real careful about that now. But yes, I know it's funny. I just said that I just read a script the other day that a screenwriter, a friend of mine, asked me to read just to give him feedback. And I read it, and of course there was a role for me, which was amazing. And I said that to him. I said, my intuition. This isn't even from a producerial standpoint. My intuition tells me this. This is who you should go to attach as a director. This is who. So yes, I think I'm very intuitive to begin with, but after being in the business as long as I have, it is an intuition and it is a gut instinct where I'm like, oh yeah, I can see this film being made. I can see. And what's funny is over the years, there have been many scripts that I've read and I've gone, oh, no way am I doing that. There's no way. And this will either never get funding or it will never get, they want to attach my name to it. It'll never get distribution. It'll never get made. And 9 times out of 10, I've been right. So, yeah, I know and then when it comes to the role for me, and then I've chosen roles where the script I think is average at best, but the role's so damn good that I want to do it anyway. And I'm okay with that too, as long as it inspires me.
Yeah, exactly. You can have sort of reasonable words on a script and then breathe life into it even more so with your acting skills, I would have thought.
Yeah, and with the right direction. A director, I'm one of those actresses that needs direction. I don't trust my instincts, funny enough, and I need direction. So it's really important. And getting back to what I was saying about passing on scripts with Lazarus, and that was one thing that was hugely important to me that Thomas Churchill and I really worked on, even in conversation prior to the film. Like, first of all, the script is great. It's you guys know me, you know my taste, you know I murders, and I really prefer the mystery thrillers. I'm not super into schlocky stuff. And I passed on a bunch of horror scripts, and then Thomas had talked to me about Lazarus, and it's very throwback. It's very, I don't mean 80s throwback, I mean Hitchcock. It's got a Hitchcock flair to it, maybe a little bit of a Brian De Palma flair to it, everything I love. It's a mystery with a zombie twist, because I hate zombies. I don't even want to call it a zombie picture, but it's a mystery with a zombie twist, and oh boy, it's a good script. And I played a small supporting role, but man, this is a great role for me.
Can I ask you about Miss Vampy?
Yes.
Can you go back to that? Obviously, you've just released episode 3 this week from your new season.
Yes. Okay, so, and we know Annette loves Miss Vampy. Well, you know, it's funny, again, like I said earlier, having focused so much on my coaching and building my business, and then last fall being blessed doing all these films, I kind of had put her, you know, not on the back burner, but, you know, behind the scenes, I'm always working still as a producer on my own stuff, you know, pitching her, and we've got Vamp It Out, which is not dead, haha, it's undead, but it will always, you know, that's my passion project, and that's, you know, the family feature, Halloween family feature for like a Fox family or what have you. So we're still pitching it, we're still trying to raise, you know, it's a several $million film, which is not easy nowadays in this economy, so I'm still focused on that. But in 2 years that have passed quickly, as we know, everyone still is like, where's Ms. Vampy? I still get asked, my bookers and parents people still get asked for Ms. Vampy, can she come appear at places? And I'm like, this sucks. Like, she's my alter ego. She's like my heart. Like, what am I going to do? So everybody was asking again, like all summer, is how it kind of got inspired. And like, it was weird, again, I'm very intuitive, very spiritual, like weird stuff. Like one of my best girlfriends from college said to me, what the hell are you doing with Ms. Vampy? Where's Ms. Vampy? We miss Ms. Vampy. Like, I really feel like you need to do something with her again. And it was so weird because I'd been thinking about it. So these like weird signs like came out of nowhere. And I'm like, this is true, you know, and then everyone's like, but this is your brand. Like, why are you focused on other crappy projects that may never happen, which is true. You know, like, why aren't you focused on this? So started thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, I am not about to go out and put another 10 grand into another web series like I did with the first one, and almost as much for the second, you know, and go into studio and do a whole thing, you know, I mean, that's what people don't realize about producing. Yes, it's fun to do stuff, you know, with your own equipment, blah, 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 but to me, and from my experience and life as a producer, you know, I do it professionally. And that means paying people, hiring crew, getting the right equipment, having craft service, having hair and makeup, and that's how I've always functioned. So this was kind of like a little bit of a shock to my system, doing it more with like a web thing, like webcam at home. But I sat down and I was talking to one of my best girlfriends who's a really creative visual director, Stacey Lane Wilson, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. She's like, we can do this, let's do this, you know, and I've got, you know, I own a little camera, and I said, you know what, let's do it, and here's what I'm going to do. We'll do it for fun, no stress. I'll prep it for a couple weeks, end of story. So, you know, and I wasn't even sure, like, if I was even going to, like, make a big deal of it or announce it to you guys or the press. And then I'm like, let me just see. And that's when I said to you guys, to everyone, I just did to, like, close friends and, you know, some business associates, like, backed by popular demand, because everybody was asking for her, like, Ms. Vampy's Bites. Because, again, I'm like, I'm going to incorporate my life coaching stuff and my advice column stuff. And that's what I was saying earlier, like, who knows how things are going to come to pass. And again, you know, you take chances in life and career, and you're like, okay, I may fall on my face, but I got to vamp it out. So that was my intention. So I literally, and you guys know this because you were one of the first to get the email, sent it out to just a handful of people that I trusted and said, there's a new advice column show, web show, Ms. Vampy's Bites. And it's going to be like a Q&A with her as a life coach to the stars and make it fun. And also my intention was completely to make it a little more adult. I love the Tween Talk show. That the purpose of that was to really show Hollywood and the studios that I could make Vamp It Out and be, even though everyone calls her like the new, horror icon, like an Elvira-esque character, how could she be a positive role model to young women? Well, I had to show them. I'm always proving myself. So that's what the Tween Talk show is about. Well, now, what about all my horror fans? What about all my mobster fans? What about all my friends and adults who love Ms. Vampy, who want advice? I mean, I get just as much fan mail from, college girls as I do from dads, 50-year-old dads who are like, okay, Ms. Vampy's sexy and I want to see more of her, So I wanted to cater to everyone, but still keep her positive. So I went back to my original, creation in 08-09 when I just did the regular Ms. Vampy series, less racy, but still smart, positive messages, positive energy, but making her more adult and again more sassy and a little sexy, So a little more cleavage, a little more of her snarky, sassy attitude, and we did it. Stacey and I just busted our butts, God bless her, and we decided, I said, let's just see. But what I was saying was when I sent that email out to you guys initially, just like asking for questions for the show, like advice questions, that's what I really needed. I could, and this was just, again, confirmation, validation from higher power, universe, whatever you want to believe in, that I was doing the right thing, because I literally, including you guys, I must have gotten within an hour, like 8 different media sites and film sites, not just horror, like freaking out, going, oh my God, Ms. Vampy's back. Can I post this? Can I post this? I'm like, oh my gosh, like you gotta be kidding me. Like, wow, people really are interested. They really do miss her and they really do want to promote this. So it was a wonderful confirmation and I'm so grateful and thank you to you guys because you were one of the first to go. Because Stuart was like, can I post this? I'm like, yay, yes, do it. So we did it on a dime. I mean, I think the whole thing was $1,000, and that's including we rented just a little bit of equipment. We shot it at my home office. We, Stacey edited. I mean, it was just funny and crazy and just fun. And I've been getting so much positive feedback, which is wonderful. And then you guys will be one of the first to hear, actually, I'll announce it. We got invited to come in studio, and we are in pre-production this week. We are going in studio next week. Matt Raub, who we love from This Week in Horror, and Stacey Lane Wilson and I have both worked with him. He's this young, hustling, wonderful producer, and he had been a big fan of Ms. Vampy way back when, even after the Tween Talk, and kept saying, I want to work with you, I want to do something, I want to produce something with Ms. Vampy. So he came to me when we just launched Ms. Vampy's Bites again, a month ago, and he said, let me see what you guys are up to, let me see it, and let me see if I can help. And he watched them and loved them and said, this is fantastic. I want to help produce, your next series of webisodes. So that is where we are right now. I am so excited, honored, blessed. I can't, it's so great because he's actually, this independent studio is executive producers that I don't have to do everything myself for once, and I'm just over the moon. So I will announce it's a similar format but different. It's going to be a little cooler, a little hipper, and the show we're targeting a much more niche, what's the word, topic and niche audience. And the show is called Ms. Vampy's Love Bite. Yes! So people are writing in and tweeting, actually, for love advice from Ms. Vampy. And who better to give love advice than a love bug like Ms. Vampy?
Now, is Miss Vampy, does she have her own Twitter account, or are they sending these tweets in courtesy of yours, Brooke Lewis?
That's a great question. They could do either. Ms. Vampy does. I have @Ms. Vampy on Twitter, and I've had that for a long time. They could send them to me, though. You know me. Like, for me, I mean, it's so hard. You guys know, I have Ms. Vampy on Twitter. I have BUMB Fearless Life Coach on Twitter. I have Brooke Lewis LA. I try to, the one that comes to my phone and that I'm constantly on from wherever I am on set or whatever is Brooke Lewis LA. But they can send them to Ms. Vampy. I'll get them, too.
So, Brooke, you've got loads of things on your schedule as usual. When's your rest time? Have you had any rest time? Had a break?
Annette, summer. Summer is for rest. Summer is when I'm kind of chilling, having fun, doing some personal stuff, taking a vacation, going back east to see my family. That's usually like August because I'm kind of just prepping and setting up for whatever is going to explode in the fall. The truth be told, first of all, we all know it's October, it's horror month, and I literally say horror month. So, it is truly crazy making here for me. And everybody knows that. Like, I tell my family and friends, call me in November. Like, from the last week in September through the first week in November, I'm like, call me like second week in November, and we can talk. But it's crazy, but it's great. It's fun. I'm exhausted. I've been on events, as you guys see on the official Brooke Lewis fan page on Facebook and Twitter, like events every night. I just opened the famous Queen Mary ship. They have their Dark Harbor haunt. So they had celebrity horror guests come and open the haunt last Thursday night. It was so much fun. If anybody's listening in the U.S., go. It's so much fun. Then we had one of my dearest girlfriends, Denise Gossett. She's like my girl. She's the director of Shriek Fest, as you guys know. So she opened Shriek Fest this week. So I was at Shriek Fest most of the weekend. Then Sunday was Bowling for Boobies. So it's been a whirlwind, and there's a lot going on. There's all the horror award shows that hopefully I get to go to the red carpet, and I might be doing an appearance in Vegas, and there's so much going on. Thank God I have a good publicist.
Now, you're doing a lot of conventions. I've noticed over the year that links have gone out to various conventions and stuff that you've appeared to. Is there any one specific film or project that you've done where the majority of the questions or comments come about that film, be it I Murders or Sinatra Club or Ms. Vampy or something? Is there one that stands out in front of all the others?
That's a great question. Well, had you just said film, I would have had answers for you, and I will go back to that. Stuart, the thing that blows my mind always, that I have to, again, as artists, we have to pay attention to what the audience wants, what the fans want, and what embraces us and vice versa. And the irony is, as you guys know, I have done Broadway, I had a recurring role in a Fox sitcom, I've done all these things. I swear to you, all anybody ever asks me about for the most part is Ms. Vampy. Everybody loves Ms. Vampy. Everybody wants to know where Ms. Vampy is. They want, when I get, like, half my fan mail, it's like, oh, and when you send an autographed picture, can you send me one of Ms. Vampy too? Like, it's so funny. I love it. But film-wise, if I'm going to go to film, yes. The answer is yes. And there's 3 to speak of. Yes, I Murders is still a big one that Robbie Bryan directed and probably always will be. It's one of my, I would say, biggest and most notable films to date. I had a lead role. Look at the cast. I mean, we shot that. That's $1 million film shot on 35mm film when we used to do that back in the day. Look at the cast. Tony Todd, Gabrielle Anwar, Billy D. Williams, William Forsythe, Frank Grillo from Warrior, Terry Colombino, oh my gosh, Margaret Cullen from Independence Day. We know the list. Wilson Heredia from Rent. I mean, what an unbelievable cast for an indie film. So, yes. So a lot of people ask about that. They want to know what it was like to work with Tony Todd and Billy D. Williams and so on and so forth. The other one I do get a lot of attention for when I do the horror conventions and stuff, which always surprises me, but that's another one that I went on my intuition, was Slime City Massacre. And, I ended up winning the B-Movie Golden Cob Award for Leading Lady Scream Queen of the Year. And here is a great example of a small micro-budget film with a wonderful writer-director. And again, see, it's all about the script and the role. And it was a supporting lead role. And, that was a cult classic. Slime City was a 1988 cult classic. that was done on a micro budget and had such a following. And 20 years later, Greg Lamberson decided to do part 2. And it was originally going to be a $500,000 film, and I was attached to it for a couple of years. It was when the economy started crashing in 08, 09. No one could get the big chunk of money, so he decided to do it for like $100,000. And we all stayed on board. We took pay cuts, and we just believed in this little project, like the little movie that could. And it was such a learning experience for me. It was the lowest budget film I'd worked on since college or whatever, and just something I believed in my heart, in my intuition, in my gut, and that's what kept me on for so long. I mean, Debbie Rashawn and Lee Perkins and, Jennifer Beal and Keelan Patrick Burke, and then appearances from all these little horror veterans, and just amazing. So that is actually something that's like the true blue horror sci-fi, because it's sort of a horror sci-fi action film, sort of like a comic book style. And I think the true blue horror sci-fi comic book fans are really in tune to those kinds of projects and really obsessed with that. And so it is pretty interesting to me when I do the conventions. Young guys come all the time with their Slime City Massacre DVD in hand, more than any others. And they collect, it's like a collectible, and they have me sign those. And so, yeah. And then outside of horror, yes, it's funny too, people love the mob stuff. And I've always been obsessed with mobster movies, and Sinatra Club is a big one I get attention for outside of horror. And people still ask me, which is so funny to me, but I know the show's been running for 1,000,000 years, they still ask me about Tony and Tina's wedding off Broadway. Oh my gosh, you did Tony and Tina's wedding with everybody from the Howard Stern show. I mean, I was so young. I was right out of college. And I was so lucky, and that's such a great time in my life. So I do get asked about that a lot.
Such a busy, I can't believe how busy you are constantly. I know you said sometimes you're not busy 24 hours a day, not Jack Bauer or whatever, but looking at all the different projects you do, the Huffington Post, Miss Vampy, all the movies and conventions and this, that and the other, you're definitely very, very busy, but do try and find time to relax.
I know. Well, you guys know, definitely if you don't, it can affect your health, it affects your stress levels, and we know. And as a life coach, I try to balance, but it's tough, and it's tough being in a big city, and it's that's an expensive city here, like London, and it's and I'm a single woman, so I have to have a personal life, and I have to sometimes go out and go crazy and let loose and go on dates. And so really, that's probably my biggest challenge, is trying to balance. And I'm blessed with wonderful friends, and people are always coming to town. So they're like last minute, hey, can you take an hour and grab coffee or a drink? And I try, but people need to understand that, it's there's only, like you said, 24 hours in a day. And it's tough, and I try to follow my gut, and I try to make really good choices, but sometimes you don't, and there's a lot of times I feel like even at my level, I'm getting taken to lunch a lot, I'm getting taken to happy hours and dinners a lot by indie film producers and directors wanting to court me for their film, and it's these are conversations I have personally with friends. It's not easy either. You're going out, you have to look good, you have to get dressed, you have to do makeup, it takes hours, as Annette knows, right? And you got to be on.
Probably longer for me though, Brooke. Probably takes me a lot longer to look good than you.
That's not true. I am not a natural beauty whatsoever. It takes me like a zillion hours to do my big mop of hair. But what I was going to say was, you go, and I mean, I don't know how many like LOIs, letters of intent I have floating around where I'm attached to a project and I'm told that they have funding for it, and then, a year goes by and you're still attached to it, and there's no funding, there's no money, the movie's not getting made, and I know everybody's out there trying, and I encourage and support that, but why I bring it up is because I get hit up 50 times a day. Can you produce my film? Can you attach yourself as an actress to my film? Can you give us a letter of agreement or intent? And you just can't. There's just not enough energy, not enough hours in a day, not enough time and money to be going in this business all day and night. I really do believe I do it more than most because I'm always hustling. I'm trying. I still want to believe in the good of this business. I want to believe that there are truly great filmmakers out there that have artistic integrity and have my best interest as an actress at heart. And sadly, it's not always the case.
Do try and rest, look after your health, and make sure Miss Vampy doesn't get into any trouble.
Miss Vampy is always in trouble.
Do you not know about Miss Vampy?
Just no felonies. That's not good.
Like
Miss Vampy in jail would not be a good season. Would not be a good life coach subject.
I love it. I think it's brilliant. Miss Vampy in jail, and she's like correcting. She's like life coaching all the prisoners. I love it. All the convicts, and making them good. I think that's a great show. I think we're going to need to talk about that. Come on, Miss Vampy.
Definitely.
She can get away with murder. Ha 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 ha.
I think she often does.
No,
Definitely.
she doesn't. You know that. She's a good girl, kinda. She doesn't kill people. She drinks her Bloody Marys and eats her Godiva chocolates and her blood red steaks, and she's very happy.
Well, I'm glad you're very, very happy, and I'm very, very glad that Miss Vampy's very happy as well. So. And I'm glad that she's back.
Miss Bumpy is back. I love that. I love Miss Bumpy. That's awesome.
Well, I'm sort of conscious that you're very, very busy today, Brooke, so we will round this one up for now. But we're sorry to sort of whip through so many different topics in such a short time.
Oh my gosh, please, don't apologize. I love talking to you guys. I love your show, and we're like family, and it's great. And I love you for always, always supporting my career. I am so grateful, and again, I genuinely hope to get out to the UK at some point soon.
Fantastic. And long will the support continue as well. So thank you for everything that you do for everybody and everybody else. So it's wonderful.
Same to you. We couldn't do what we do without people like you, really doing the promotion and press and media and being responsible about it and encouraging, and I love you guys.